Right. Welcome to the San Ramon Valley Unified School District's Board of Education meeting. We want to let the public know that we are video recording this meeting and it can be live streamed on the district's YouTube channel. First, I'll call this meeting to order, and then we'll take attendance and we can start with Travis.
Great. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Travis Hodges. I'm the student member to the Board of Education, and it's great to be here tonight with all of you.
Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm Rachel Hurd and I represent Trustee Area 5.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jesse Van Zee, and I represent Area 1.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. I'm Susanna Ordway, and I represent Area 4.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shelley Clark, and I proudly represent Area 2.
Hi, I'm Laura Brett and I represent Area 3. Next, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. And so if we could all stand, and Travis, if you could lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Travis. All right, so tonight we begin our meeting with a special recognition. While we typically celebrate the accomplishments of our current students, this evening we're turning our attention to an extraordinary group of alumni. Over the summer, we started accepting nominations for the 30 Under 30 Alumni Recognition Campaign, an initiative to honor our alumni who are 30 years or younger and making a significant impact on our community and beyond. Our graduates go on to do incredible and diverse things when they leave us, and it's inspiring to hear how their SRVUSD education helped lay the foundation for their success. The 30 young adults whom we are honoring tonight were chosen in a blind review process by a committee consisting of representatives from the town of Danville, the city of San Ramon, Diablo Valley College, San Ramon Valley Council of PTAs, San Ramon Valley Education Foundation, SRVUSD, and the wider community. In addition to recognizing them here tonight, these exceptional graduates were honored at the State of the School District event on October 30th, and their photos and stories are highlighted on the 30 Under 30 page on the district website. We are proud to display this plaque. It's engraved with all of their names, and it will be hung here in the boardroom in proud recognition of them alongside the plaque of last year's honorees, which I believe is back there. Sorry, I should know. All right, so now I'm going to invite all the board members up, and we'll call in all the folks up that are here. While many of these alumni could not join us tonight, we are thrilled to have several here with us. I will start tonight's recognition by sharing a bit more about the honorees who are here, and we'll conclude by reading the names of those who were not able to attend. So when I call your name, please kindly come up to the front. All right, so first we have Colin Cook, who graduated from San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2012. Colin fulfilled his dream of attending the prestigious Culinary Institute of America and honed his skills in fine dining kitchens such as the Michelin-starred Chez Noir. In 2023, he joined Chef's Brigade and now works with SRVUSD to improve its kitchens. Colin has been instrumental in enhancing the student dining experience by introducing new menu items and training staff in advanced cooking techniques. His innovative grab-and-go options have been a hit with high school students. And next we have Siam Day, California high school graduate, class of 2024. Oh, that was just last year. That was quick. Siam, driven by an early awareness of educational inequities, founded Pi Kids, a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing STEM education to underserved children. Leading a team of 28 high school volunteers, Siam organizes workshops to teach kids coding and technology skills. Pi Kids has donated Raspberry Pi computers to institutions like the Boys and Girls Club in Oakland. Siam has also taught programming to the children of human trafficking victims in India. He is now studying at Purdue University. Next, we have Michelle Koo, Doherty Valley High School class of 2013. Michelle is a senior software development engineer at Workday, where she creates innovative tools to enhance developer productivity. A UC Berkeley computer science graduate, go Bears. She published research on supercomputing while interning at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. Last year, Michelle received Workday's Outstanding Contributor Award, recognizing her as a top engineer. Passionate about education, Michelle volunteers at CodePath, preparing students for technical interviews to jumpstart their software engineering careers. And we have Maddie Bizuo, I'm sorry, California High School class of 2014. Sorry, I butchered your name. With initial hopes of being an artist, Maddie started out at art school. After a year, she moved home and transferred to UC Berkeley, go Bears, to study sociology and disability studies. In 2021, she joined Vistability, a Bay Area nonprofit supporting individuals with disabilities. Initially a recruiter, Maddie applied her artistic skills to create content and design materials, leading to her promotion to communications manager. Through persistence, creativity, and risk-taking, Maddie successfully merged her passion with a meaningful purpose. And then we have Kiara Smith, Doherty Valley High School class of 2011. Kiara is committed to improving educational outcomes for diverse populations. After graduating from Pacific Union College, she pursued a master's in education at Vanderbilt, focusing on learning, diversity, and urban studies. She taught at Skyline High School in Oakland for 6 years, where her culturally relevant curriculum earned her recognition as department co-chair. Now an English teacher at Cal High. Yay, go Bears! Go Grizzlies, sorry. Now an English teacher at Cal High, she works in the social justice pathway, serves as an advisor for the Black Student Union, and is also in a doctorate program at USF. Excellent. Anything else to say with this? Let me get the plaque. I'm sorry. We had the stack of no's, and so I had them over there. Okay, so why don't you find, yeah. All right. Hannah Wald, yay! Monte Vista High School class of 2013. While earning degrees at Northwestern in international studies and political science with a certificate in integrated marketing, Hannah also honed her skills as a trilingualist in English, Spanish, and French. Her passion for marketing led her to roles at Fanatics and most recently BizBuySell. While pursuing an MBA in marketing from Santa Clara, she earned a scholarship to their study abroad program for global business perspectives. Hannah is a dedicated volunteer and avid runner, participating in the New York City Marathon. Wow, that's awesome. And then that's the only other one. Lots of great people to. Okay, so I'm gonna read the rest of our 30 under 30. Just their names and their schools and classes. They were unable to be here because they're off doing amazing things. Okay, so we have Anthony Carbone from San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2021. We have Ariella Castillo, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2018. We have Jessica Katzen Didio, California High School, class of 2013. Courtney Chung, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2012. We have Travis Delaney, California High School, class of 2021. Benjamin Freeman, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2015. Jacob Freeman, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2017. Are they twins, do you think? Oh, brothers, okay. Nathan Gilbreth, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2013. Sigal Govindario, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2020. Olivia Jones, Monte Vista High School, class of 2018. Anad Canapan, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2015. Julia Karcheski, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2016. Bryant Lee, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2019. Carolyn Mendel, Monte Vista High School, class of 2018. Ritika Mitra, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2020. Natalie Hauser Lim, California High School, class of 2012. Taylor O'Hanlon, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2014. Tyler Aranji, California High School, class of 2016. Isabella Ordaz, Monte Vista High School, class of 2015. Deepika Pujalenthi Saravanan, California High School, class of 2018. Garrett Steffen, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2017. Aluju Subrayamanian, California High School, or I'm sorry, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2020. Anthony Villa, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2012. Erica Wheeler, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2017. Okay, on to the next. So tonight, the board would also like to acknowledge all members of our community who contributed to the success of the Measure Q campaign. The outpouring of support from the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation, the San Ramon Valley Council of PTAs, and all of our parents, caregivers, PTAs, ed funds, community volunteers, and leaders was truly impressive. Thank you so much. We would like to extend a special thank you to the campaign co-chairs, Alicia Galami and Kristen McCullum, for their leadership in guiding this campaign to victory. We are also deeply grateful for the time and dedication of all the Measure Q committee members who worked tirelessly to ensure that the measure passed. They walked every street in this district, and we're so grateful for everyone. Thank you. As a result of their efforts and the generous support of our community, SRVUSD will continue to receive an annual amount of $6.8 million in support to support our schools. I would like to call up those who were able to make it tonight in person. And special thanks to those who were on the campaign committees but could not join us tonight. And I also just want to say thanks to every single volunteer that put a sign on their yard, knocked on a door, told a friend, wore a pin. Every single person, everyone that voted, everyone that told someone else to vote, just thank you so much, because this means so much to our school district. And as we'll see in the coming meetings and the budget cuts we need to make, this is something that we really needed. So thank you. All right, so our Measure Q team, we have Alicia Galami. So I'm going to ask you to come up because we're going to take a picture. So we have Alicia Galami. Yay! And we're going to just applaud everyone that comes out. Kristen McCollum. Christine Schulis. Jenny Jensen. Rachel Hurd, she's already here. Lauren Gio, Robin Clow, Krista Glazer, Vanessa Berenstein, Gary Alpert, Adam Crawford, Melinda Daly, CJ Kamek, and Laura Finko, Jeremy Hauser and Joe Clausius from the team Civex Consultants. Right. So next I'm going to report actions taken in closed session. The board approved the resignation agreement for employee number 18265. That was a 5-5-0 vote. And next I need an acceptance of minutes. So board, I just want to let you know that we need to please note that there are revised minutes on the dais. So I don't know if you've had a chance to see them, but can I get a motion to accept the revised minutes from the October 15th, 2024 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Hodges.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
So for agenda approval, we'd like to revise action item 1113. It's removing the draft job description for child nutrition training technician. May I have a motion to accept the revised agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Hodges.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Just going through public comment, make sure I'm not missing something. So consent agenda approval. So consent items are considered routine in nature and are approved by combining them into a single vote. Only a member of the board may request that a consent item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and voted on separately. Public may comment on a consent item before the board approves the consent agenda. And I'm just going to double check that I'm not missing something in the public comment. Okay. So we do not have any public comment for consent items. Does anyone on the board have any questions or thoughts about pulling anything, or can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Hurd. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Hodges.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, great. So next we're gonna, I'm just gonna do a little bit of housekeeping around public comment. So if you would like to make a comment during the meeting, you can find yellow speaker cards at the back table. And you can speak to a staff member if you have any questions. You'll have an opportunity to make a comment on agendized items when we come to that item. For comments on items not on the agenda, please submit your card for public comment for non-agendized items on tonight's agenda. Each speaker has a time limit of 3 minutes with a timer shown on the screen while you are speaking. This time limit will be enforced to ensure fairness. Please be aware that we may interrupt you and redirect you to the correct time to speak if your comment relates to a different agendized item or if it is not within our jurisdiction. As president, I reserve the right to announce a last call for speaker card submissions. So usually what I do is after the report has been done, before public comment starts, I ask that everyone bring up their cards, and then at that point, we'll stop accepting them for that specific agenda item. The views expressed during public comment are those of the individual speaker. The absence of a response from the board or district staff does not imply agreement. The district believes in an inclusive, welcoming, and safe environment during its meetings for all in our community. Please be mindful that students are in the room and watching virtually. We are all here to support them and to support their educational experience. And I want to say thank you for coming. We have a full house, which is wonderful. We love to have everyone engaged. These meetings sometimes can be long, but I'm grateful that you're here. And so next we will move on to reports to the board. 10.1, we have a school highlight, and that's Greenbrook Elementary with Principal Alyssa Redcock. Oh. Hey.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Elsa Rakoff, and I am the proud principal of Greenbrook Elementary School. Now, I could talk for hours about Greenbrook. I love Greenbrook. I love my job there, but I want to highlight it in just a few numbers here for you. So on campus, we have about 80 staff members, certificated and classified, and they help guide our 750 TK through 5th grade students and our 63 special education preschool students on campus. We work hard every day to support students, and I'm really proud that we offer right now about 140 hours of intervention and para support on campus. Thank you to our Eagle Fund. And also really proud to share that currently 65 students are being supported in their social emotional learning needs as well through our Rainbow Room, school-based counselor, and skip counseling. Now, there's one thing that truly defines Greenbrook, and that is our community. I'm just going to pause. This wasn't part of my plan, but raise your hand if you are part of the Greenbrook community here. So it truly is special. It's a special place, and community it defines it. So our enthusiastic students, engaged parents, and dedicated staff truly make Greenbrook soar. Our goal at Greenbrook is always to build kind, compassionate students who encompass every aspect of the learner profile. A few highlights of things that have been happening on campus recently. We had an all abilities fair where our PTA set up stations that recognize all different types of abilities that students either have themselves or may encounter throughout life. And students got to be adaptable learners and do some hands-on simulations of one of them was focused on neurological disorders. And so students got to do a simulation of what it might feel like to be a child with autism in a classroom. Another station, they practiced writing Braille and reading Braille and guiding each other through with blindfolds, you know, to kind of experience what it's like for some of our people in the world who have disabilities. Another example is being creative contributors. Our student leadership has a community service committee, and recently they've been dying to get something started, and they decided they wanted to donate Halloween candy. They didn't know where to start. They came to me and they're like, who do we even talk to? And I said, you're going to have to reach out to your community. And so they did. They started asking questions. They started talking to parents and families. And they found Blue Star Moms, who collects Halloween candy and uses it. So they created flyers, posters, and they launched a campaign for candy. Our office was filled with the candy until today, where Blue Star Moms came and picked it up. So those are just two brief examples of our students really doing the hard work on campus. Over the last few years, Greenbrook has really focused on creating opportunities for student voice and choice on campus. We found that students who are like feeling connected to school and they have that voice at school are more engaged. They're joyful, they're happy to be there. They care about what's going on campus. So just to highlight a few ways that we've done that, our staff did a lot of professional development around choice in the classroom. So for example, 4th grade does mission projects, and I'm sure you can picture in your brain the diorama of a mission that a student can bring to school and share with the class. But instead of just having those dioramas be the only option, our 4th grade team really focused on giving a choice board of 6 ways to present about their missions. It was from scripts for a play to a presentation to the diorama. So they got to choose how they wanted to present their work. In 5th grade, our students have been doing a lot of book clubs. So they've been reading a lot of diverse books, really focused in on different things. So right now they're doing an all abilities book club, and students get to pick their top 3 choices and then get to read one of those. We find they're really engaged in what they're reading when they get to have that choice. And then lastly, in kindergarten, which you're like, how do you have choice in kindergarten? We talked about just even simply having 2 letters on the board. They're going to learn all the letters, but let them have the choice that day of which letter they're going to learn. So we really broke down how we can have choice in the classrooms for students on a daily basis. Another way we've created student voice and choice on campus is through our student clubs. We currently have about 7 student clubs for our 4th and 5th graders. And a lot of these clubs are from the students. Last year, for example, I had a student who really wanted chess club. He got 20 people to sign up saying, we'll show up, and came to me with the list and said, okay, how are we going to get it started? And I said, I will buy you the chess boards. You need to go find a supervisor. He went out, found a teacher, found a classroom, and chess club launched. Another little example is our comic club. Same thing, student ideas, made it happen. They made a comic book that lives in our library. So we really empower the students to have voice and choice in that way. So tonight I've invited a few of our student members from our student leadership and our student clubs to share a little bit about their voice on campus.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lucas Wynn from Student Leadership, and I'm representing Greenbrook Elementary. Leadership at Greenbrook is taken very seriously, and I'm going to share a little bit about what leadership means at my school. Leadership students at Greenbrook are the role models for our student body. We lead by example to inspire the other kids to do the same. For example, if a piece of trash is just laying on the floor, we take initiative and pick it up. Then, other kids will pick up the trash they see as well, ensuring a clean and safe space to learn. We also serve our fellow students. Leadership here is divided into many committees, and each committee takes care of one thing, like making announcements or designing posters. We organize and support special events for our school, special events that make being at school more fun. We plan spirit days, fundraisers, and so much more. Us leadership students and the faculty try our best to make Greenbrook an even better place. But how do leadership students get chosen? How did I make it to leadership? A few weeks after school started, leadership selection was announced to the entire 5th grade. There were many steps to complete to even get to voting. First, the teachers had to get an email from our parents approving the kids' participation in leadership selection. The students would then have to start filling out an application to be in leadership. We had to write about what we would do for the school and what makes us a good leader. Shortly after the applications were sent, we needed to give a speech covering why our class should vote for us. It took me a lot of work to write my speech, and many others had great speeches. After that came the voting process. Our class had the chance to vote for 6 people who they thought would be good leadership reps. Finally, our teacher announced the chosen representatives a few days later. Those chosen reps would begin their leadership journey. Honestly, at Greenbrook, you don't have to be a leader to be a leader on campus. You can take a chance at helping the librarian or being a buddy for a younger kid who needs a role model. Or you can help a classmate or a teacher, or just pick up trash when you see it, whenever you have the opportunity. We have a great school, and being on leadership at Greenbrook is truly special. Thank you. Hi, my name is Addie. I'm in fourth grade in Miss Leonides' class. Hello, my name is Campbell. I'm in fourth grade in Miss Raven's class. Hi, my name is Zadie. I'm in fourth grade and my teacher is Miss Raven. And we're representing the No Place for Hate Club. Your voice, your choice is a big part of our school community. Your voice, your choice allows students to choose what they want to make in the No Place for Hate Club. In the No Place for Hate Club, we have been working on making bracelets, designing shirts, decorating posters. The No Place for Hate Club is for fourth and fifth graders. Represent no hate at Greenbrook. We do the no Place for Hate Club in room 402 about twice a month, and Miss Apple and Miss Crothers host it. There's a special pledge that we do every Wednesday to represent the No Place for Hate Club. In the future, we will be reading to younger students at Greenbrook. Now say the No Place for Hate pledge. Please repeat after us. I promise to do my best to treat everyone fairly.
Promise to do my best to treat everyone fairly.
I promise to do my best to be kind to everyone,
I promise to do my best to be kind to everyone,
even if they are not like me.
even if they're not like me.
If I see someone being hurt or bullied,
If I see someone being hurt or bullied,
I will tell a teacher.
I will tell a teacher.
Everyone should be able to feel safe and happy at school.
Everyone should be able to feel safe and happy at school.
I want our school to be a no place for hate.
I want a school to be no place for hate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hate bracelet to all of you guys.
Oh, it's super cool. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to keep going while they pass those out. As I highlighted earlier, our dedicated staff truly devotes themselves to making every student succeed at Greenbrook. Something I want to highlight is many teachers on my campus have over 10 plus years at Greenbrook, with a collective of over 550 years at Greenbrook, which is pretty incredible. They work every day to meet every child's needs. And just one example of their commitment is most recently, 28 of us traveled to Los Angeles to the Museum of Tolerance, where we did a very intensive 2-day professional development surrounding cultural proficiency and how we can truly meet the needs of every student on our campus. And this was a holiday weekend that teachers voluntarily came and committed themselves to building a better school. And so that's just one example of their dedication to our students. I truly have never seen a staff more committed to building kind and compassionate humans for our world. So it's really special. None of what makes Greenbrook community special could be done without our engaged parents on campus. And when I talk about parents at Greenbrook, I mean parents, grandparents, caregivers, everyone is truly involved. We have grandparents who their kids went to Greenbrook, now their grandkids go to Greenbrook, and they're committed. They're in the community, they're part of our community every single day. Tonight, I'm going to highlight 2 of our parent groups, our PTA and our Eagle Fund. Our PTA, its main goal is to create an inclusive school community. We have events all the time. And a couple I want to highlight is our back to school bash, which was our first Friday back at school. Our community got together. We had BMX bikers, we had food trucks, we had a Greenbrook dad band. It was pretty amazing. The school just celebrated being back on campus. Another one to highlight, which is a student favorite, is Greenbrook Goes Global. This is where families create booths to show their culture. They share food, activities, and the community comes out and just learns about one another and accepts one another and just sees everyone and what they are and who they are. And lastly, our Greenbrook Talent Show. If you've never been to a Greenbrook Talent Show, I highly recommend. It has over 50 performances. It's out under the redwoods, and there are chairs being set up the night before. It's like the 4th of July parade. It truly is like a concert in the park. It's a fun way to end our year every year. Our Eagle Fund, or our Education Foundation, allows us to have those 140 hours of para time and intervention support that I talked about earlier. They currently fund paraprofessionals for every grade level, 2 intervention instructional assistants that support students all day long. And then they also help provide access to music and library for every student on campus at least every other week. And then most recently this year, they've helped fund our TSA admin, who has been pivotal in our MTSS program and our student support. So I could sit here all day, like I said, and talk to you about what makes Greenbrook so special, but I wanted it to come from our students, our staff, and our parents. So this is going to highlight that.
One of the greatest things about being a teacher at Greenbrook is the staff. My fellow teachers, I consider them to be family to me. They're some of my best friends. I've known them forever and they are great. The kids are wonderful. This is just the greatest place to work ever, which is why I've been here for, this is my 28th year.
Because I get to see all my friends.
I really love the because of all the different cultures and people judge you by the inside, not the outside.
Hi, I'm Megan Flardo, and I'm a parent here at the Greenbrook community. I've been a part of this community for over 10 years, and it truly is very special. My favorite thing that we do is when we do the senior grad walkthrough, and all of the little Eagles come out to cheer on the big Eagles that are graduating from the high schools in the area, because once an Eagle, always an Eagle.
I love Greenbrook because it's where I found my new best friend. This is my first year at Greenbrook, and I already have 5 really good friends. Everyone here at Greenbrook is very kind and welcoming. The teachers always have a smile on their face and are very kind. Greenbrook is a place to be.
Hi, I'm Katie Cummings. I'm a kindergarten teacher here at Greenbrook, but not only am I a kindergarten teacher here, I was a student here as a kid in the 90s, and I'm also a parent here. I have a daughter in 1st grade and a son in TK. There's so many things I could say that make Greenbrook a magical place. Truly, I believe it's a magical place, not just a special place. But one of the things that I think makes it the best is just the warm welcome of teachers here. We have some of the best teachers. As a student, I loved every single teacher I had from K through 5. I actually went back and student taught with my 5th grade teacher who is still here. I feel like teachers, once they start here, they don't leave, because why would you leave? It's just such a special place.
Few things really stand out to me about Greenbrook. One, a strong network of community. There's such strong parental involvement here. You get that sense when I volunteer in class with others, events that we have. It really has like a family feel here. You know that everyone really cares, not about just their kids, but all the kids here.
Greenbrook is very special because all its social events and spirit days. You'll also never feel left out or excluded because Greenbrook is no place for hate school where everyone belongs. Greenbrook is a special place for me because all the classes I've been in, it felt like we're a family.
The community at large is amazing. It's just a great place to work. I've been here since 2006, in the district since 1999. You cannot find a school with teachers that care more about their students and their families.
It's the talent show, if you saw that. So thank you for your time, and please feel free to come experience Greenbrook whenever you need.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Just thank you. That was a wonderful presentation, and what a creative way to show off your school. And thank you to your community for coming to support you. It's always so special when you all show up.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, you really exemplified student leadership. You had students involved. I loved how you were just talking about the clubs, and they came to you with a question and you sent them on to go figure it out. And I've never gotten swag before from a presentation, so thank you.
I do have a question. When some of the different things that you're doing, what are think it sheets?
Yeah, great question. So think it sheets are when students are making choices on campus. They can reflect on their choices. So it's really empowering the student to reflect on the choice they made, why they made that choice, how can they make that choice better, and next steps that are needed. So
Oh, wow.
it gives them the power. Yeah.
Critical thinking and deep learning. Wow,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I loved your all abilities fair and initiatives and stuff. So thank you very much.
I've had the pleasure of visiting a couple times, and the garden that your PTA created was beautiful. I wanted to go sit and meditate in it. I think the kids were having trouble with maybe digging up the grass, but I'm sure that's been taken care of. I love that you're creating well-balanced and global citizens, basically, that care about other people, that you're giving them choices that empower them in their learning. That is so important and part of our strategic directions. And I can just say from being at Greenbrook that it is the atmosphere there and the energy there is amazing. And I cannot believe that the little boy that spoke at the beginning is in 5th grade,
Yeah.
because I want to be him when I grow up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I think I just want to add that it's really great to see how you're preparing students to be future leaders. I love the focus on student choice and how everyone from the community just seems so enthusiastic about creating this welcoming place. I also really love the bracelets. These are great. I'll be sure to be wearing this around school. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to Lucas and Addie and Campbell and Zadie. You guys were really awesome. And your parents, it's on video, so watch and share widely. You guys should be super proud of your kids. They're amazing. And all the kids at Greenbrook. It really is a magical place. Thank you for sharing. All right, great. Thank you. All right, next we have 10.2, which is strategic direction, social emotional well-being and equity. And that's our Director of Equity, Hong Nguyen, and College and Career Readiness Coordinator, Jessica Colson.
Okay, good evening, trustees, Superintendent Kamick, and members of the San Ramon Valley Unified Community. Hong and I are pleased to be here tonight to present an update on the strategic directions of social emotional well-being and equity. We are all familiar with this slide, and as it demonstrates, social emotional well-being and equity initiatives create the conditions for deep learning and innovation to occur. And deep learning experiences allow our students to experience strong social emotional well-being and equitable learning environments on our campuses. This year, we are excited to present these two strategic directions together, as many of the actions we'll be describing overlap or are related. Our strategic directions work together to provide opportunities for our students to develop skills that will allow them to achieve all aspects of our learner profile. In the past 25 years, our student enrollment has grown by approximately 30%, while the percentage of students of color in our district has increased 3.5 times to almost 70%. While our student population has increased in diversity, our staff is not as reflective of that diversity as our students. So now I'll speak to the goals for social emotional well-being and for equity. For social emotional well-being, our overarching goal is that we are committed to creating safe, nurturing, inclusive learning environments where all students, staff, and families feel deeply connected to their school community. So we have to develop a shared commitment to the culture of wellness where every student's emotional health is respected across the system, and to create and nurture instructional environments that prioritize all students' social and emotional well-being. For equity, we have 4 goals: to create learning environments that are safe, equitable, and provide a sense of belonging for everyone in our community; to create culturally responsive and equity-informed policies, procedures, and practices that lead to equitable outcomes for students; to develop teaching and learning experiences that are responsive to and supportive of diverse cultures and identities; and to recruit, hire, and retain a more diverse staff. So for the actions that we completed last year, we continued the use of social and emotional lessons in elementary school. We began wellness and social media lessons in middle school. We brought on board Safe School Ambassadors in high school, and we used the Elevate survey, which I spoke to in last year's report, at 7 of our secondary schools. With regard to the SRB process and for student absenteeism, we really refined the SRB process and brought it back after it had been suspended during COVID. And we are providing information for site attendance teams. They're working hard to learn how to analyze data and to implement supports for students who struggle with coming to school every day. For college and career readiness, we are supporting the existing programs and expanding future CTE pathways. We are in the process of transitioning to a new college and career readiness platform. We are working to expand the dual enrollment in trades programs. And we planned last year for implementation this year, the interdisciplinary cohort pilot for 9th graders at Doherty Valley High School.
And for continued action that we have for 23-24, one of them is confronting discrimination. This is an area that we've really been focusing on in our school district. And so really looking at different strategies and resources to address incidents of discrimination and hate. We have a responding to discrimination and hate handbook that we've been refining and updating over the last number of years. And as we are getting continued feedback from our community as well as our staff and students, we're adding that to the handbook itself, and then really supporting the school sites when there's incidents that have occurred. I've already within the last couple of weeks really met with families as well as students that have experienced an act of discrimination or hate, and to hear their stories and just know that it's very disheartening in terms of some of their experiences. We always want to make sure that we're working on reflecting on our own practices at school. What can we do to make things right and better for our community? And so those are things that we are definitely working on. We are working also on equity-focused professional development for staff. We've actually taken a lot of the different incidents that have occurred and turned them into case studies. So that way we can use them with our administrators. So that way they can push that out to staff, right? When these incidents are coming in, how are we responding to them? How are we being the upstander and setting those examples for our students? So that way they can do the same. Really looking at our school sites, having this year really focusing on PBIS, which is positive behavioral interventions and supports at our sites, looking at the different systems that we're putting in place. We've had done a number of data analysis. We did a data dive at the very beginning of the year and really trying to look at where our district is going when it comes to our discrimination as well as hate incidents that are happening on campus, and how can we support our schools through our social emotional well-being, our social emotional learning programs that we actually have at our school sites. Our multi-tiered systems of support is something that we want to make sure that we have in place within there, looking at more of that behavior and that social emotional in addition to academics. Restorative justice, restorative practices have been something that we've been working on and continuously done with trainings for our staff, really working on the areas of special education and providing additional trainings there, as well as a focus on LGBTQ plus. And then also, in terms of our documentation, we know that we're still underreporting in the system, but our administrators can put in our Infinite Campus different incidents of discrimination and hate. And so we're able to collect that data. We started that last year in our system. So we collected that data and we have a baseline data that we can really look at. And that's where we actually pull the case studies from as well. And so we did do that last year and continued on with that this year. For diversifying curriculum, last year we did pull our high school teachers together and did a diversifying curriculum team. And so our high school teachers really looked at their curriculum at the high school level and see how can they best diversify their curriculum. And so they came up with new book titles that they really wanted to get board approved. And so that was a process that we were able to do last year. We also know that in 25-26, we have to implement ethnic studies in our freshman class. And so we had gone through that board approval to change the graduation requirement. And so we last year had met with a team of educators, had about 7 different sessions where we actually did curriculum writing. And so that was something that we did last year and this year, really working on that professional development for our teachers. And then we know that with our student voice and affinity groups, that's something that we want to continue to elevate, right? Like, how do we continue to elevate our students in our schools to be able to have their voices heard? And so through panels, forums, summits, interviews, surveys, those are all very important. I spent the last couple weeks going into schools doing empathy interviews with our students, right? And really trying to hear from them how I can best support them, as well as the admin and school site in changing culture, right? For them to feel like they are being represented and being heard at school. Affinity clubs at our school sites, being able to support them. We did a number of different symposiums last year, our Black Student Union symposiums. We had ethnic studies symposium that were held. We also did have a student came up with this idea of doing a conference. And so really wanted to do a conference and focus it on Asian American and Pacific Islander. And so that was something that was an idea, and then we made that happen. And so that was something that was from students and based on student voice. And then also providing different opportunities for our students. And so we have the student leaders anti-racist movement, and through that we provided different opportunities for courageous conversations. And as we go into our measurements that we have our district data dashboard that is there. And we always look at different ways for us to develop and know that we want to make sure that we're improving some of the different goals that we have within our strategic directions. We use that as our accountability tool and giving some of the baseline measurements. We also have target goals that we want to make sure that we are improving. And so some of these different slides that we are going to show you, the verbiage is coming directly from the dashboard. And so decrease academic disparities for underserved students. And so with the numbers that we have, we're pulling it from our CAS data. And so for ELA, just looking at our underserved population, it did say relatively the same, 56%. For math, it went from 48% to 49%. So there is an improvement there. For Healthy Kids survey for social emotional well-being, we want to make sure that we're improving students' social emotional well-being. It stayed the same at 74%. And when we think about our students, our underrepresented students, how they're feeling in terms of their well-being, it went from 64% to 62%. We want to see the numbers increase, not decrease. And as we look at student voice and agency here in terms of the increase, these numbers are still fairly low, even though we do see an increase in them. We know that 33 to 34%. That's still really low, but we did see an increase there in terms of students feeling like they are meaningfully participating in school activities. And then there's increase in inclusive classroom experience that allows for that student choice and voice. And that's something that we want to be able to see more of. And as we look at our diversifying staff and here, as we look at some of our new hires that we actually have, it went from 45% to 49%, and then also 5.9% for those that left us for dissatisfaction to 2.3%. And so the number that we actually have right there shows that there's less people leaving our district due to dissatisfaction. And then chronic absenteeism, we wanted to make sure that we're including this in here as well. We do see a decline, 2.1% for chronic absenteeism, which means that we're doing better in this area, but we want to do even more. So really looking at how we can best improve for 24-25. And so as we move into actions, we want to think about what we need to do to really improve some of our actions and where we're going to go in 24-25.
So this year, we are continuing the support of all of the social and emotional well-being across the district in the various forms that it takes. We are doing everything that we mentioned in last year's actions, as well as working with several sites administrators to determine areas of growth needed to strengthen school climate and culture. And that is through a survey called Catalyze, which is the adult version of the Elevate survey. So we are supporting site administrative teams in taking that data and figuring out how to best meet the needs of the adults on their campuses. Safe School Ambassadors is continuing to increase in the number of students and staff that are trained. And I did want to go back to student absenteeism for a minute. The fact that we dropped by 2 percentage points for chronic absenteeism is significant. And I think that that's due in large part to the work that has been done by our attendance TSA. She's in year 2 of her role, and the bringing back SRB and meeting with the individual school sites attendance teams and relentlessly pushing them to figure out why students are not coming to school, I think is a huge indicator of why that number has dropped. And so then for college and career readiness, which provides different opportunities for students, we are going to complete the transition to the new college and career platform. And then we are going to expand dual enrollments in the trades with I hesitate to name them because they're still in the planning phases, but with bringing on board and kind of editing a couple of the programs in the trades that we currently have. And then the peer counseling class that Trustee Clark worked so hard to bring to fruition this year is going really well at 2 of our high schools. And those teachers have just submitted a new course proposal for a peer counseling 2 class. So we're really excited to expand these opportunities for students.
And as we continue with 24-25 school year, we want to continue with the professional development and really looking at our discrimination and hate incidents that are happening. I've already started doing more professional development with our assistant principals and really talking to our principals. I get a lot of phone calls also as things are coming up. And so really just walking through some of our administrators through some of the process. A lot of that is really going back and making sure that they're checking in with the families, right? And making sure that the families are being heard on both ends. And so continue with that professional development for our staff. We also want to make sure that we're improving our recording of our discrimination hate incidents that are on campus. I know that this year I walked a principal through just our system and making sure that they understand the system and how to input that data because that data is important. We also want to make sure that we're proactive in terms of how we approach, things that are happening on campus. What are lessons that can be done? What are some of the conversations we can have with families as well as our staff and our students on campus before something happens? And so those are things that we want to make sure we continue working on. Diversifying our curriculum, we worked with high school. So this year our goal is to work and collaborate with our middle school teams for us to have conversations with them about their curriculum within the school sites and what we need to do to make some changes. We want to increase, of course, diverse read alouds or diverse reads within our elementary school sites and all the way across. We have our resolutions that are in place, but we know that we can't just wait till a certain month in order for us to have these readings. We want to make sure that we're reading diverse books throughout the year for our students so that way they can see themselves within the text and also see others. And then we also want to continue to integrate feedback for our introduction to ethnic studies class. That's something that's going to be really important for us as we move forward and going through and getting the approval of the curriculum. And as we continue to elevate student voice opportunities, that's something that's super important. I think within our district, we've been doing a great job in having our students come and tell us how they're feeling, and sometimes, we have a question, we're thinking that the answers are going to be one way, and then all of a sudden, we hear something totally different from our students, and it's always great to be able to hear from them. We want to continue our student senate. We are meeting with our student senate, and Travis knows very well, in terms of that setup of student senate. It's secondary representatives from every secondary school that comes together once a month before a board meeting, so that way they can discuss. They also have different groups that they work in, subcommittees that they actually have, coming up with different projects throughout the year, and having space for our ed services team or our HR or business side to come in and also have this dialogue to get feedback from our students, to continue to support our affinity spaces and continue to expand our opportunities to get more engagement from our students. And so to conclude, we know that it's important for us to have a safe, inclusive, and respectful learning environment for our students. That's something that we want to make sure that all of our students have access to. We want to personalize learning environments, experiences for our students as well. We want to hold, in terms of just high expectations, having opportunities for students to be able to learn and share together. We also want to explore different strategies on how we can support our underrepresented students, right? We know that based on data that we need to do a little bit better. And so that's an area of focus for us. And then we also want to ensure a high quality education for all. And so with that, that concludes our SUB as well as equity report.
Oh, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I just had some questions on the metrics that you presented. So just because it was a little confusing to me, like the qualitative nature of it, where it says like on CASP, decrease academic disparities for underserved students, and you've got ELA and math. What does that 56% mean? Is that a 56% decrease, or there's 50% or 56% disparity?
So the 56% is the 56% of students, that's where they're at with ELA. And so.
Got it.
In terms of meeting standard.
Got it.
56 are proficient. Right, right.
Okay, got it. And then I think I had another similar question. So meaningful participation, student voice and agency, those from CK, California Healthy Kids Survey, the 34%, is that a 33% increase? Or is that 33% feel that there's meaningful participation in school activities?
The latter, so 33%
Okay.
of them feel and agree or strongly agree in how they're feeling, which we also know that, in looking at that, 33% is not very high.
Yeah, okay.
I have a couple questions. Okay. So Elevate, you said that that's at 7 secondary schools. Is there a plan to roll it into all the schools? Is it piloted, or is it just that those schools have the funds to pay for that program?
So the program is free of charge.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes, we like that word. And it is, the expansion this year has been down into 2 elementary schools.
Oh, great.
Which
Okay.
is so exciting. It's for grades 3, 4, and 5. And so the sites are piloting it, and they are supporting, they're piloting it by running it with their students, and then also giving feedback mostly through me to the company in order to sort of tweak the survey. The learning conditions are the same, but the language has been revised to be accessible for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. One of the guiding principles that I've always adhered to since Dr. Malloy introduced us to this survey 4 years ago was that it had to be voluntary. And the reason for that is because teachers are soliciting incredibly personal feedback. We know that teaching is not just a job, but the teachers pour their hearts and souls into their work every day, and they are asking for feedback on meaningful work, on teacher caring, on educational equity in the classroom. And so if a teacher is not in a space to be able to receive that feedback, and it's anonymous feedback, and it is aggregated over like all of their classes, it still can cause harm to the teacher and then through that to the students. And so it's always been a very strong principle of mine that only teachers who want to do this work will do the survey. What has happened is as the communities have grown, other teachers within the school community have decided to do it in the following years. But I feel if we were to make it mandatory for every single teacher, one, that would be survey overload and fatigue.
Yeah.
Because as a high school student, you would be taking the same survey in 6 of your classes. And so to keep track of my English class, my math class. And if a teacher isn't also willing to look at the results and act on them to improve conditions in the classroom, then they will actually lose trust from their students.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you. And then in terms of the chronic absenteeism, that's awesome. Anyone that has my sons in their class knows that we struggle with that in our household, and I'm grateful to see that. What was the baseline pre-COVID for absenteeism? What was that percentage?
Oh my
Do we
gosh.
know?
Not off the top of
Okay,
my head. I'm really
okay,
sorry. I will
okay.
get that.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious if like, how much closer we're getting to that kind of baseline.
That's a great question. I'll get
Yeah,
back to you on
yeah,
that.
okay. And then in regards to the MTSS liaisons, so this is our first year of cutting that, right? That we're now a couple of months into that. And so a big part of that was multi-tiered support around social emotional well-being, behavior, all of those things, especially at the elementary level. I'm just curious, I know I don't need a report on it, but I'm just curious of how things are going in a general sense with kind of the shift from someone actually having a liaison to it kind of being more of a community, um, community action, I guess.
So we know that having our liaisons at our site, it was a very valuable role. And so, having no liaisons that are there and, some of our sites did take on getting a TSA and getting it funded externally has been helpful for them. It's a lot of the work that we originally had in terms of rolling out does fall onto our administrators. It may fall onto a teacher staff member. We did also a lot of different trainings with our liaisons where they would be able to take on certain roles at the site, whether it's looking at data, running before after school programs, being able to support with our student study teams, all of those different things, or holding spaces when it comes to restorative justice, restorative practices.
Yeah.
Those do fall back on a lot of our staff and administrators. And so they've been doing a phenomenal job trying to just really hold those spaces this year.
And I will add that we've made a really conscious effort with we have site leadership team trainings about 4 or 5 times a year. And so we've really had the focus on looking at data, how to look at data, what does that mean? And then helping the site admin and leadership teams make actionable plans to go back and implement what they have decided to do and circle back with them. So I think this year there is a much stronger kind of feedback from everybody involved in order to sort of bridge that gap that we have lost with the liaisons.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And there'll be you guys are having conversations with those school sites about now that we see where the gaps are, like how as a district we can maybe help to plug some of that a little bit, it's not a winning situation any way we look at it, but the transition from Naviance to SchoolLink, I'm curious if you've had any feedback from the community, from parents, students about how that transition is going. And the way that I understand it as a parent is that our seniors still, all students still have access to Naviance, but our seniors are using that because that's what they've been using. But then students coming up will be switching to SchoolLink. So then I'm curious, like, how does the students that are juniors this year, how does that look? Is Naviance gonna be gone for them next year? And how are the students and parents kind of managing that shift at what from my understanding is kind of a key point in planning for those students?
Yeah, so we are actually in the beginning stages of transitioning.
Okay.
So this year's current seniors will finish out their high school career with Naviance.
Right.
This year's current juniors will be onboarded to School Links during the spring scheduling process.
Okay.
So basically in the month of February, when counselors do parent caregiver presentations and classroom presentations, instead of talking about Naviance, they'll be talking about School Links. We have a training for counselors and counseling support staff in December to get them onboarded. And they have already been on the platform and kind of playing around in it. And we're getting all of our data loaded. We have been able to bring over a lot of our historical data with regard to acceptances, like the favorite feature is the scattergrams, and those are up and running. So with the acceptances, the GPAs, and the test scores. So those are available. And so the juniors will be onboarded and information will be pushed out to junior families right around the holidays, December, January. The primary goal is to ensure that all of the people who support current juniors are well-versed in how the platform works so that they can support the juniors in getting their college lists up and running for the fall. Because we realize it's a quick transition, but we wanted to do kind of a slow transition to ensure that they were able to start, or mostly, I know that some have already started, but mostly start their process on the new platform and not have it switch in June. When they're going to come back to a new platform in August. And so that was the decision that was made. And then in fall of 25, grades 8 through 12 will be onboarded into School Links.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So we've come a long way in 4 years.
We sure
and
have.
This work that you are both doing is so important to our students. And I know that because I have spent many hours with them, with the affinity groups, with all of our student groups and on the committees that I'm in, the Social Emotional Wellbeing Committee. They let us know that this work around making sure that they are feeling safe, feeling welcomed, and feeling mentally and emotionally supported in their schools has a huge amount to do with their success academically. So I want to thank you for that, because I know it's not easy sometimes. And at times there's parts of our community that don't value this, that think that we're diluting our academics in order to do this. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So I'm just grateful for everything that all of you, that the whole staff has done, and all of our teachers, to bring this to our students, because it is important for their success, not only academically, but emotionally and mentally. Of course, I'm so happy that the peer counseling is being successful. And I did have a teacher that I brought to you that approached me about becoming the teacher for that in one of our other high schools. So we just have one more high school to go, and it would be great if we could get that in place, because I think, as I've talked about before, students are a lot of times more apt to talk to another student rather than an adult to reach out. Can you tell me more about the Doherty cohort? What does that entail?
So 2 classes, approximately 65 students, were selected to be part of the cohort. And what that means is that these 2 classes or sections of students have the first 4 periods of their school day together. So I might go to English, Algebra 2, biology, and then health for one semester, world geography for the second semester. And then Hong would also be in the cohort, but she might go to algebra, and then English, and then world geo, and then biology. So the teachers who are teaching in the cohort, there are 5 of them: math, English, science, social studies, and health. They are teaching 2 sections, except for the health and world geo. They are teaching 1 period of it because they will switch their students at the semester. So that's a little bit kind of funky math, but that's how it works out. So the students are enrolled in periods 1 through 4, and they are with the same 30-ish students for all of those periods. And then they go and they take their PE and their elective after lunch. The teachers work together and collaborate every single day to plan, to align their curriculum to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And they are working on supporting students in developing a capstone project. They'll present part of it for one of the goals in December, and then the second goal will be addressed in the spring. And they are working tirelessly to calibrate around not only instructional practices, but around student well-being. And I believe that they met recently with the endowment, which has been instrumental. I mean, without that work, it couldn't have gotten off the ground. And the teachers are working tirelessly to support students. And from what I hear, it is an incredibly rewarding experience for everybody involved, adults and students in the program.
Thank you. One other thing, and that is highlighting a couple of the programs that we do, and those are SLAM and Breaking Down the Walls. And from what I've seen and experienced, because I've been in many SLAM trainings with our students and also in Breaking Down the Walls, those are incredibly powerful in order to address the behaviors, some of the behaviors that we see from some of our students. And we've been able to get those into most of our high schools. My question is, and it's right now with the budget the way it is, it's probably not the best time to ask it, but I still think it needs to be asked. How can we get those into our middle schools? Because our kids are coming up and they need to have that kind of training and information before they get to high school. And so I just put that out there. I don't know if there's other ways to get funding or if our parent groups are interested in that, but the power of those programs can transform a campus. So I just can't say enough about SLAM. It's amazing.
And thank you for coming to our sessions and just being present. I know that when the board members are there, the students definitely notice. And so, we were able to implement SLAM at all of our high schools the last couple of years because we were on a grant. We had the anti-bias education grant, but we ended up using all of it already. And so really moving forward, unless we're going to fund it through our district, it would be asking for support from the community.
Are there any other grants that we could apply for?
Still looking.
Okay, well, if you need help with that, I'm happy to help. Thank you, both.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. Just wanted to also add a little bit because I was lucky enough to be a liaison to the endowment committee. So I actually got to see the Solutionary Academy, the cohort, right? And it was amazing because the students, I mean, every one of them, when you talk to them, they went deep into like what they're trying to solve, what their project was, their research and stuff. But not only that, but even the teachers were really engaged and all the students were engaged. So everyone was kind of learning, going deep together. So it was, that was very cool. Anyway, just kind of adding to that. But I was actually interested in something that we've, put into place actually several years. And I thought maybe, time to kind of take a look at our wellness centers, because I know what we have our wellness centers at all 4 high schools. And I was just curious, because I know that, our wellness center coordinators, or I'm not quite sure the title, that actually right, supports the social workers. They do the intakes and things like that. So they might have some information. Again, maybe just kind of like more high level, but I'm curious on like who uses the centers. Is it, same students or different students, or, it's just some of the, and how, only because we want, I think that we would like to take a look so that if there's somewhere we can improve, because I've heard that there are some students who are a little nervous about going because they might miss something in class while they're going. And it's kind of like, oh, well, we don't want to cause more stress, and so how we can maybe improve. But
And if I don't have the information, I can speak with, so Dave Kravitz, Director of Student Services. He supervises all of the social workers who facilitate and manage the wellness centers. So he has a much better idea of could answer your questions more specifically, but I'm going to take a stab at it. I believe that the students can go down for drop-ins, but that the time is limited. So the idea is not that they are able to be there for the entire period or more, but that it is to have a quick reset where they can go in, they can take some deep breaths, they can do some mindfulness, they can play with a fidget toy, they can basically do something to kind of help reset and then get back to class. The social workers are working with the like the cost teams, so the counselors, the school psychologists, the admin to look at intervention data to determine if students need to be met. So there will be some outreach on the part of the adults who are affiliated with the wellness center. Students can drop in and request to see somebody. And then some of the wellness center coordinators are working on getting groups up and running and figuring out more efficient ways to serve larger groups of students. So there's kind of a bunch of different things that are happening.
Okay, yeah, I was more,
And I met with the wellness social workers earlier in the school year and then really checking in with them. I can tell you they're quite busy, right? We do have students that are really utilizing that space. And as we do speak to our students, they're normalizing the fact that they're using the wellness center more and more now just to support themselves in their school to get through the school day if there's something going on or, if they really just needed more of a mental break, it's definitely there. But just building that trust with the person that's in that room has been, very valuable for our students that are using that space. And so we do get a variety of students in there.
okay, thank you. Yeah, no, again, just want to make sure that students are not afraid or worried about, missing something in class or something like that by going, if they need to.
I do have a question. How are we doing our outreach for the peer counseling? Are students reaching out to other students to encourage them to join in? Are they waiting in the wellness centers? How does that work?
To access counseling.
Peer counseling.
Right. So this year, or I'm sorry, this semester, the focus really has been on training the students and understanding where the limits are. Students are not trained counselors, they're not licensed professionals, but so their role is to be a sympathetic, kind, compassionate peer to speak with. That is done basically the teachers are trying to track it through a Google form. And so that could be a self-referral, that could be a teacher referral. And so students can sign up that way through the form is the primary way of getting there.
Great, thank you. And I also want to say thank you for SLAM and breaking down the walls. I talk to students about these all the time, and the number one thing that I hear is just that I wish I'd done this sooner. Students absolutely love these programs, especially breaking down the walls. It's such a great opportunity for people to see that there's so much connecting us, and really not that much that keeps us separate and breaks us apart. So that's really fostered community at our high schools. And as you were saying, Trustee Clark, if there's any way we can bring this down to the middle school level, I think this would be like immensely helpful for students. But thank you very much.
Great. Any other thoughts or questions? No. Okay. We don't have any public comment for this, so thank you so much for this report and all the hard work that you and your teams are doing. You guys are doing amazing work for our students. Thank you. Right, next we have public comment for non-agendized items. So just as a reminder, this is an opportunity for our community to speak on the record about items that are not on tonight's agenda. During the non-agendized public comment, the board cannot respond to comments because they have not been published on our agenda prior to the meeting. If there are any additional, this is going to be my last call. If there are any additional comments people would like to make, please walk up in the next couple of minutes and drop it off. Okay, and then we will start with Layla Dizal, and we're gonna go from her to Mike Arata. So Layla or Lee, yeah, Layla. Oh, I see. Oh, I understand now. Okay, so we will start with Mike Arata. And after Mike Arata will be Stephanie Tadlow. No, I understand now. I
In September, your school library celebrated Banned Books Week with related high and middle school displays that included portions of extensive library porn collections. The displays also included dares by adult authority figures to check out the porn and to read dangerously, dares that would likely get a stranger in a park arrested. Meanwhile, Board Policy 1250 promotes, quote, an active interest in the issues affecting school districts, or rather district schools and students, and encourages interested parents and community members to visit schools and participate in the educational program, unquote. But like other policies in this Potemkin district, 1250 is for show rather than for substance. So the only actual ban during Banned Books Week was a blanket prohibition on community member library visits to document the filth provided to kids. And so-called banned books aren't actually banned, of course. Amazon and other sellers make the vile, depraved porn readily available, and so do your tax-funded school libraries to minors. 2 of your staff members spoke at the October board meeting about my visit to the San Ramon Valley High School Library at 3:45 one day during Banned Books Week. They weren't there themselves, so they misrepresented various elements of that visit. When I walked to a multi-shelf display straight ahead of the entrance and began photographing the books there, the librarian on duty asked who I was. I answered, just a citizen interested in your banned books display. The librarian was so untroubled that she pointed to a second part of the display further away and invited my attention to that one too. She was on the phone, however, as I photographed the second display and then asked that I leave. I snapped the last picture I'd already lined up and left immediately. Teacher union boss Laura Finko said falsely that I refused to leave when asked. That's untrue. She also called my visit creepy, and math teacher Bob Allen claimed that I regularly denigrate students and teachers. I'll tell you what's creepy. It's adult authority figures who not only make pornographic filth available to minor children, but recommend that they check it out, and at least one middle school library that they read dangerously, quote unquote. The sign shows blurred covers of 6 porno books in the library at San Ramon Valley High, your academically poorest performing high school of 4. 24 of those books were included in the school's banned books display. I certainly do not denigrate students. They're the victims of LGBTQ kindergarten grooming and gender support plans concealed from parents. They are enlisted in secretive 4th and 5th grade LGBTQ PRISM clubs. They are casualties of your overtly racist anti-racism curriculum and Marxist propaganda. And they're the targets of your desensitizing porn promoters. But yes, I certainly do criticize the foolish or evil adults who do these things to kids in schools.
Thank you, Mr. Arata. Next up is Stephanie Tadlow, and after Stephanie is Prabhat Mita.
Good evening. Yes, my name is Stephanie Taddeo, and I also want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak here this evening. I just want to take this opportunity to share some words of encouragement and in acknowledgement of Transgender Awareness Week, which is November 13th through November 19th. May peace, love, equality, and inclusion be given to all children. May transgender loved ones have their daily needs met. When transgender youth graduate from high school, may they find gainful employment or placement in higher education without discrimination. May they have access to medical care without fear. May they have their rights and lives protected. May they find a loving community to belong to and call their own. Forgive those who have fallen short and failed transgender children. Forgive those who turned away or did not care. Forgive those who laughed at or judged their unique expression. Forgive those who have misspoken, asked too much, or failed to hear. Lead everyone away from the temptation to become complacent in the face of injustice. Give us the courage to stand up and stand with our beloved children now and forever. This is an adaptation of a writing by Kim Sorrells. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Prabhat Mita, and after her is Leonard Matthews.
Dear board members, as part of Dory Valley High School wrestling team, we are here today to express our deep frustration and heartbreak over the ongoing inequitable treatment of our athletes. With 90 dedicated wrestlers on the team this season, we are disheartened by the lack of access to facilities that meet the needs and allow them to thrive in the school. The wrestlers of Dory Valley High School are more than just athletes. They are students who demonstrate dedication, discipline, and resilience every day. With 90 students on the team this season, they represent one of the largest and the most diverse program on the campus and the district. For weeks now, our team has been forced to practice in a space that is not only too small for their numbers, but also unsuitable for the sport itself. This isn't just an inconvenience, it is a matter of their safety and respect to the sport and athlete. Wrestling is a high contact sport that demands a safe, spacious, and appropriate facility. Each day that our wrestler practice in an unsafe, overcrowded space, they are at a greater risk of injury. Every missed opportunity to train properly hurts their morale and ability to perform in matches. Denying our athletes the basic necessity puts them at a clear disadvantage when compared to their peers. What is even harder is to accept is the disparity on how resources are being allocated at the school. Other sports programs, including freshman and junior varsity teams, are given priority access to facilities. Some of them are receiving exclusive use for up to 10 hours every day, while our varsity wrestlers, the heart of our team, are left with nothing. Wrestling, on the other hand, is struggling to secure time in spaces where our own equipments are stored. Wrestling is not being treated as an equal part of an athletic community at Dory Valley High School, and this has been a case for far too long. We understand the complexities of facility scheduling and appreciate the efforts made to accommodate all sports programs. However, the current arrangements do not reflect the needs of our growing team. The issue has been reportedly raised with the administration, yet no workable solution has been shared or provided. The lack of action on this issue reflects a troubling disregard for the wrestling program and its contribution to the school community. Our athletes deserve same respect, resources, and support as every other sports team at Dory Valley High School. We have tried to be patient and cooperative, but we cannot remain silent anymore. We are asking the board members here to step in and advocate for our wrestlers. They need your help to secure fair and immediate access to the facility that are appropriate for the team, size, and sport. The season has already begun. We are already 3 weeks almost into the season. The time is to act now. Please don't let our children feel like they matter less than their peers when we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. They have earned the right to be treated with fairness and respect. Thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you. Next, we have Leonard Matthews, and after Mr. Matthews is Layla Dizal.
Hello again, esteemed board members. As some of you already know, my name is Leonard Matthews III. I've been a teacher in this district for 22 years. 20 of those years have been spent as the voice of California high school's women's athletics teams. From game one, they were the Lady Grizzlies, just like the University of Tennessee Lady Vols or the Lady Texters of Louisiana Tech, the women's teams that I loved as a kid. At 10 years old, the names made me think of rugged frontiers women standing ready to defend the fort, or a group of determined women in dungarees standing on either side of Rosie the Riveter saying, "Ladies, we can handle this." This is why our female athletes added the term Lady Grizzlies, doing their part to defend the den. The use of the word lady presented the feminine sense of power, strength, courage, and class. By definition, a lady is a female with class. With this as a backdrop, imagine my surprise when I was asked by district administration to take this unique designation away from our female athletes. Why? Because anonymous persons felt the term was not inclusive. Not inclusive because I do not say male Grizzlies. Well, Prior to Title IX, only males played sports, which made all the mascots masculine. There was a need to differentiate. I offered an academic compromise that Chris George acknowledged was fair. The administration rejected the compromise. The girls on the team were given no say in the matter and were basically bullied. A parent and community signed petition requesting compromise was arbitrarily dismissed and ignored, and the parents were disrespected. The administration made it clear, no compromises. That brings us to this board meeting this evening. With the support of the women's athletic community at Cal High as my tailwind, yet another compromise is being offered. We come to the table to seeking permission from the board to use the term Lady Grizzlies once per game to acknowledge the women who see the title as empowering and unique. Once per game, that's all. Like true civil rights workers, we have come to the table, yes, yet again. Martin Luther King went to the table. Cesar Chavez went to the table. Susan B. Anthony went to the table. Yuri Kuchiyama went to the table. Harvey Milk went to the table. Gandhi went to the table. It is those opposing civil rights, the bigots, the privileged, the misogynists, the entitled, and the homophobic who refuse to come to the table. In this case, Admin and Anonymous is refusing to come to the table. Who will be the board member that stands for mutual respect, common ground, and compromise? Which board member will ask Administration Anonymous to come to the table, not to listen, but to negotiate? The board member who reaches out to make this happen will find a lot of voters, both old and new in this district. I'm sure many community members, including the students new to voting, will be happy to vote for that board member over and over again. If no board member reaches out to these voters, I'm sure their future political opponents will. After all, what's wrong with being known as the board member who stands for mutual respect, common ground, and compromise? I see that board member as someone I'd point out to our students as an example of someone who practiced what I teach them as students every day: mutual respect, common ground, and compromise.
Thank you, Leonard. Next we have Layla Dizal.
Years, first time here as a parent. I come to the table. Ladies and gentlemen and members of the San Ramon Unified School District, I stand before you as a lady, as a proud mother, a working single parent, and someone who values the power of language to inspire. Today, I support Mr. Matthews and his use of the term Lady Grizzlies to honor our remarkable female athletes. For the past 3 years, my daughter, a 16-year-old daughter, who's been a Lady Grizzly, playing flag football, girls basketball, and track. And every time I watch my daughter and her teammates, I see strength, dedication, and resilience. These young women are not just athletes, but they're also role models, breaking barriers and achieving greatness. The term lady is not one of diminishment, but elevation. And the term lady conveys respect, dignity, and grace. And these are qualities that they all have. Mr. Matthews' use of Lady Grizzlies for the past few years that I've been in honor of witnessing him host a lot of the game and the events elevates their identity, recognizes them as fierce competitors and exceptional young women that they are. It reflects pride and respect for their hard work. In closing, I, along with many of the parents here in the room, do support Mr. Matthews' choice because the term Lady Grizzlies not only celebrates our daughters, but also the dignity that they carry as athletes. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Layla. All right, that's the end of our non-agendized public comments. So next we'll move to 10.4, Association President's Report. I know I saw Laura. Do we have, oh, yes, great. Tammy? Yes, let's start with you, Tammy. Tammy Castelluccio with the CSEA. She's the president of the CSEA.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Castelluccio, president of CSEA. I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate all of the previous students that were chosen for 30 Under 30. You exemplify the greatness of our district, and thank you for all you provide to the community at large. I have to say the presentation by Greenbrook Elementary was the best. It was great to hear from our students of all the great things they are doing at Greenbrook. CSEA was pleased to see that Measure Q passed. Thank you everyone that worked so hard to ensure community education and support. I would also like to congratulate Shelley Clark and Laura Bratt on their wins for board seats in Area 2 and 3. Before you this evening are 2 job descriptions that we negotiated with the district. The positions are Visual Arts Specialist and Performing Arts Specialist. Your approval is greatly appreciated. Prop 28 funds will be used to cover these positions, and we are happy to add new positions to the classified service. We wish everyone a wonderful and well-deserved break next week with family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. And we have Laura Finko with Servia.
Good evening, everyone. I know how to clear a room. It's like becoming habit. We acknowledge that the San Ramon Valley rests on the unceded ancestral lands of the Bay Miwok and Ohlone people, specifically the Takan and Siouan bands who have stewarded this land for thousands of years. We honor their enduring relationship with this land, their wisdom, and their resilience. We also recognize, especially around this time of the fall holidays, that the process of colonization have caused deep harm to Indigenous communities, and we commit to supporting their ongoing efforts for sovereignty, justice, and cultural preservation. Let us take this evening to reflect on the history of this land and our responsibilities to support the Indigenous people and their rights as caretakers of the sacred places. My name is Laura Finko. I'm president of the San Ramon Valley Education Association, representing the nearly 1,700 non-managerial certificated staff in our district. First, I would like to extend my congratulations to Laura Bratt and Shelley Clark on your re-elections. Your dedication to our districts and its students is deeply appreciated. I also want to thank the San Ramon Valley community for their strong passage of Measure Q. This victory reflects our shared commitment to ensuring our students have access to the resources and support they need to thrive in their educational journey. And I join with Tammy in thanking and congratulating our 30 under 30, particularly Hannah Wald, who was one of my students. In the past 5 years, we've made great strides in negotiations to improve the educational experiences of our students. Everything we have achieved has been with their best interest in mind. Class size matters. Smaller classes provide more individual attention, fosters personal interactions that improve learning outcomes, including standard test scores. Supports for our students matter. Whether it's through teacher librarians, counselors, nurses, or social workers, we know that addressing the social emotional well-being of our students is critical to their successes, as we've heard earlier this evening. Having high-quality educators matters. Our teachers are the backbone of this district, and their dedication ensures that students receive the best education possible. Why do I speak of this? Well, as we continue to navigate through what is perceived as a fiscal crisis, we must remain steadfast in our priorities. We cannot afford to take away the very things that define a quality education. These are not extras, they're not luxuries, they're necessities. Our students deserve to be our top priority. As educators, we are committed to ensuring that every decision we make reflects their needs. We ask for your continued partnership in keeping this commitment at the forefront of every discussion and every decision as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. All right, and now we'll move on to 10.5 Student Board Members Report. Student Board Member Travis Hodges.
All right. Well, over the past month, I've had some great opportunities to connect with students, as well as some members of our district staff. We had some great conversations on topics ranging from grade reform to standardized testing, and that was great, not only to help bring my own voice to the table, but also to bring the voices of my fellow students from sites all across the district. I also had the chance to host office hours, and that was a great opportunity to get some valuable feedback from both our middle and high school students. Essentially, the way that works is students from any school site across the district can hop on a Zoom call with me. They can voice their concerns. They can talk about issues that they're feeling or need to be addressed. And then afterwards, I'll work to connect them with the right people or help them come up with solutions or just inform them on how the process works. And that's been really, really successful so far. So that was great to see. I also got to meet with our Student Senate, and we had a really productive conversation covering everything from our school technology policies and the conversation we're going to be having as a school district regarding that, all the way to budget priorities. It was great to hear their thoughts and see how they align with what we're working on as a board. I also got to meet with some of our district committees as well as our superintendent, and I got to directly gather some feedback from the community as well. And then finally, it was great attending the 30 Under 30 event. I really enjoyed seeing all the incredible alumni that our schools produce. So overall, a great month, and I'm looking forward to what we have ahead. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Travis. All right. And then we'll move on to 10.6, the superintendent's report. Superintendent Kemick.
Thank you so much. I'll try and keep this brief to move us along, but there is a lot of exciting news to share and also important news to review. So first, I want to thank everybody who took the time in the end of October to come to the State of the District, and thanks to our Ed Foundation for their support and partnership in putting on this event. A special thanks to our community for supporting Measure Q in such a huge way. It's a fundamentally important piece of how we can continue to do some of the things that we need to do within the district with local support. And congratulations to our board members who won re-election to their position. I also congratulate everybody who had the courage to run for a public office. Wanted to share that I had a wonderful visit to the Special Olympics at San Ramon Valley High School for their soccer event. They had some great music playing, and through my observation, it was a little bit of a combination of Special Olympics with a dance-infused version of soccer. But our student athletes were having an amazing time, and thanks to our student volunteers and all the staff who helped put that event together. Had some great visits to school sites since our last board meeting: Montevideo, Cal High, Neil Armstrong, Gale Ranch, Live Oak, Windermere Ranch, John Baldwin, Charlotte Wood, Greenbrook, and everything that we saw tonight was certainly true there during my visit. And as mentioned, got to visit the Doherty Valley High School Solutionary Cohort, that also supported by our Education Foundation. I was really impressed by both the student and staff collaboration that was happening in that program, and attended a great San Ramon Valley versus Cal NCS playoff game Friday with my son. And we are moving into some very difficult times for us related to budget reductions. So we've completed 6 of our 7 budget advisory committee meetings. We have opened up a survey for our community, our staff, parents and caregivers and students. We have over 700 responses thus far, and that number keeps growing rather rapidly, which is wonderful. We will hold our second and third town halls, the second one being tomorrow morning and the third one being Thursday evening. And during our December 19th budget workshop, I will present to the board and the community a budget reduction plan to get us to where we need to be for the upcoming budget year, where we need to make a $24 million reduction. And those reductions will be significant. So please note that these things will be published in advance of that meeting under the Brown Act. When they're published, they'll be provided to the board and the community at the same time, so that everybody has access to the materials at the same time, as would be a provision under the Brown Act. When we do post the agenda, please know that we will send communication out to our community and our parents and caregivers, as well as our staff, so that people have time to review that plan. And we'll come back to the board in January for further consideration. The December 19th workshop is a workshop, and there's no anticipated action at that time. And so I just wanted to set forward what's coming in our future meetings. And these will be difficult meetings with a lot of important discussions and considerations. And I appreciate everybody's expected understanding that these will be very difficult decisions that our board will be faced with, and very difficult realities that we will see moving forward. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. All right, so next we'll move on to action items. So we have 11.1, consideration of adoption of resolution number 49/2425, approval of provisional internship permit, and that's PIP requests. Assistant Superintendent Melanie Jones.
Thank you, President Brat. This resolution has become somewhat of a standing item, given the challenges that we've had with the teacher shortage. With your approval this evening, the provisional intern permit resolution will provide one of our educators with additional time to meet subject matter competency requirements and allow this person to enter the classroom and support our students directly. This specific request also is going to assist the district in filling one of our special day class teaching positions at the elementary level.
Does anyone have any questions or comments or?
I'd like to move the motion to adopt the resolution 49/2425, approval of provisional internship permit.
I'll second that.
The motion was made by Board Member Ordway and seconded by Board Member Van Zee. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Hodges.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Brat.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 11.2, consideration of approval of revised miscellaneous salary schedule. And again, that's Assistant Superintendent Melanie Jones.
Thank you again. All right, so this evening, staff is recommending revisions to the miscellaneous salary schedule effective January 1 of 2025. These recommendations are really to address the district's current operational needs, some shifts in our staffing challenges with respects to substitutes, and just also to allow us to manage our substitute costs more effectively. The first recommendation that we're making this evening is pertaining to our resident sub positions, as well as the premiums that were established several years ago. These initiatives were established in response to a significant substitute shortage. Thankfully, they've been very successful. I'm pleased to share that our average substitute fill rate is approximately 97 to 98%. We recognize that some of our school sites with special education programs and TK programs also have greater needs. So we're proposing that we establish priority substitutes who will report directly to HR and will allow us to make sure that we are assigning substitutes to the higher priority schools and be able to address those needs. And in addition, as I shared, our substitute staffing needs have shifted from the certificated to the classified. And right now, our greatest challenges really lie with our special education paraprofessionals, our autism specialist paras, and our TK paras. And so with our recommendation, we would like to present this evening. It includes an incentive program to encourage classified subs to assist us with the special education para positions, the ASP and the TKs. And then finally, we're going to request that we make an adjustment to the minimum wage to $16.50 effective January 1 as well.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I just have a comment. Melanie, I'm looking at the cover sheet and where the quarterly incentive is described for the classified sped paras and ASPs. I think it mistakenly says per day, $250 per day.
That's
the actual salary schedule doesn't say per day, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Anybody reading that could get us kind of
Thank you.
sideways.
It should be quarterly. And so, yes, we'll make that. It is reflected.
It's correct on what we'd be approving. I just wanted to call it out that on the.
Thank you for catching that.
Sheet. But I would like to move approval of this resolution.
I'll second that.
I guess it's not a resolution, it's actually approval of a miscellaneous salary schedule.
So,
oh, do we have some public comment? Are we getting ahead of ourselves?
Well, so because there's on our 11.4, part of that is the cutting the resident subs, and then 11.2 is the salary schedule, which talks about resident subs. So we have two public comments for 11.4, but I just want to make sure that you're referring to the budget cuts rather than the salary schedule on your public comment. So it's yes, that's a yes, and then, okay. Okay. All right.
So for item 11.2, the motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Van Zee. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Hodges.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway. Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Great. And then we move on to 11.3, which is consideration of approval of new and revised position descriptions. And again, that is Assistant Superintendent of HR, Melanie Jones.
Thank you. All right, item 11.3. In November of 2022, California voters approved the Music in Schools Funding Act to support arts instruction in schools. And a key component of the act requires that a majority of the funds be used to employ staff dedicated to providing arts instruction. Thanks to our labor partners, CSEA, and the leadership of Shavonta Eddington, we have two new job descriptions to support visual and performing arts in our schools, the visual arts specialist and the performing arts specialist. The funding for these positions will come from restricted dollars through Prop 28 for arts and education.
Great. Any questions from anyone? No.
No, I think she hit on it. I mean, I think as we're talking about budget cuts, I think the thing that can be super confusing, and I'll admit for myself as well coming on the board, is how school funding works. And there's all these little buckets that you can pull from and some that you can't pull from for this and that. So I think, Melanie, you hit it very well by describing that these specifically have to be used for this. So I just don't want it to look cavalier to the public as we're cutting back on some things and then adding new things. So hopefully that clears that up. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything else to that.
Well, I'll piggyback on that because you're absolutely right. And it's an example of the way the state sometimes handcuffs us. Well-meaning, but sometimes the consequences of it, while I am a huge proponent of the arts and I'm thrilled that we have this money and that we can put it towards that, where we are right now with our budget cuts, because they handcuff us with these, we used to call them categorical funds. It makes it very difficult to explain to our community and to our students why we're having to make deep cuts here, but yet we're hiring new positions. So yeah, I mean, I wish it was different, but because we could make maybe make better use of some of our funds at different times, but I am totally in support of the arts and I'm thrilled that we have this funding.
Thank you for emphasizing that. Appreciate it.
All right, so we don't have public comment for this. So would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the arts positions.
Second. The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Hodges.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. And moving on to 11.4, consideration of adoption of resolution number 52-2425, authorizing 2024-25 budget balancing solutions. And that's our old and new again, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Danny Hillman.
Thank you. Did you want to do an intro?
Thank you. We'll certainly leave the item to you in detail, but I just wanted to make a few remarks because I know we received a lot of communication and advocacy related to one of the items on the reduction of $3.5 million, which is our resident substitutes. And I expect that we'll have public comment on that tonight. And I do appreciate the outreach and the communication that has been sent forward to my attention. I know the board has received a number of communications on this as well. I would love to keep resident substitutes. And I think that I would just like to offer some important context. I don't expect it to change anybody's perspective that all of a sudden moves people into universal agreement that this is the right thing to do or a good thing to do. But I think we have to recognize that the number of reductions that we will be making in the coming months are going to include a long list of things that are not recommended best practices in education, and they're not things that we want to do. And you won't hear me defend that these decisions are good for staff or good for kids. They are an unfortunate reality of where we fall with our funding model from the state, with the expiration of one-time funds that we received from pandemic relief dollars, and the conditions that exist within declining enrollment districts, which is nearly every district in the state. So when we look at these, I think we have to remember that we're in a very different condition today than when these positions were implemented. These were a response to our return from the pandemic, and thankfully we're post-pandemic, but regrettably nearly all that one-time money is expended. These positions were tentatively slated to end before this school year started, and we tried very hard to identify one-time dollars to allow them to carry forward one more year, this instructional year. When we had some changes in our fiscal condition and recognized the need to make $3.5 million of reductions this year, that changes the circumstances dramatically, because mid-year reductions from a budget perspective are very different than future reductions for the next school year. It is nearly impossible to reduce staffing in the middle of the year because the law requires that for most positions, we provide March 15th notices, meaning people, if they don't get a March 15th notice, then have a right to a position for the next year. Substitutes are a different part of that process, and they are at-will employees. They don't require a March 15th notice. Additionally, as you heard our assistant superintendent describe, we are taking steps to try and address the need for substitutes and having priority substitutes. But this is something that we need to do in order to make mid-year budget adjustments this year. I think it is important to give context to the fact that our district reduced $10 million from our budget last spring. We need to reduce $3.5 million this year. And we will be presenting a list of $24 million in reductions for next year. And so, as I said in the beginning, I don't expect that this changes people's position or mindset to where now all of a sudden they will agree with these reductions. But I think these should be considered and in context with a long list of future reductions that we will likely all universally share agreement that we don't wish we were considering. So I just wanted to offer that as context and to provide a little bit of some remarks around that. And I will turn it to our assistant superintendent to review some of the details of how we aim to achieve $3.5 million in reductions for mid-year reductions.
Thank you, Superintendent Kamick. So 11.4 is consideration of adoption of resolution number 5224-25. It's authorizing 2024-25 budget balancing solutions. As Superintendent already mentioned, this action item is for the year that we're currently sitting in. And so this is action we would take mid-year so that we can finish this year balanced. As discussed at previous meetings, I know I wasn't here, but I was here sort of, and I was listening, so I know it was discussed. Significant budget actions are required to achieve a balanced budget for the current fiscal year, 2024-25. More specifically, our revised fiscal projections indicate that SRVUSD will need to reach $3.5 million in budget balancing solutions for this year alone. The recommended areas for reduction are indicated as attached and will be reflected in the district's first interim financial report that is presented to the board on December 10th. The administration recommends adoption of the resolution, which authorizes the budget balancing solutions. The exact amount as of right now is $3,521,673. If you go to the third page, you can see the detail that backs up that resolution. And the total dollar amount is broken into the following things. By eliminating the substitute premium rates and the resident substitute program that we were discussing on a previous board item, we anticipate about $488,000 in savings. We are going to change the funding for about 1.55 FTE of administrators from the general fund, unrestricted general fund, to our local control accountability plan funding, which is a restricted funding source, as well as our extended learning opportunities program, also a restricted funding source. This is something that buys us some space in the current year. Also, we're going to be implementing a hiring freeze at school sites that only covers two types of positions, noon duty supervisors and custodial positions. That should yield about $105,000. a hiring freeze for district departments, various positions in various different departments totaling a little over $730,000. And then for site discretionary budgets, we've looked at and analyzed the budgets for each of them, all 36 schools, and we've taken the dollar amounts that they have not yet earmarked for anything. So it's money that's sitting there, and we're going to take about 10% of each of that back. And so the total of that across the 36 sites is just over $100,000. We did discuss that with principals at the principals meeting yesterday. I told them that if they had anything that they really had their heart set on and that this is going to affect them, to call us and we would try to help them and figure it out. But this way, the schools are giving a little bit back, but they still have the majority of their money. And if they've already earmarked it for something, we're not touching that. So if they have an open purchase order for supplies, or they had an assembly planned and they already had the money committed, we're not touching any of that. So as far as the students and staff are concerned, they're not losing out on anything they've already planned as far as we know. Again, if they have an issue, they'll contact us. And then the last item in the list is department budgets. We're going to be putting a spending freeze on non-essential items, and that should get us close, a little over $590,000. You add all that up, it gets us to the 3.5 that we need. We feel that while there is some slight impact to school sites, we really tried to minimize the amount of impact middle of the year to school sites by not freezing additional positions or not freezing or taking back any of their discretionary dollars. We're trying to shoulder this as much as possible with some of the accounting things that we can do behind the scenes, like the administrator salaries. So when you have a mid-year cut, as the superintendent mentioned, you don't have the full set of options at your disposal because you're in the middle of the year. So mid-year cuts tend to be a little bit more difficult. But I think that this is a good set given where we are right now. And as he's already mentioned, again, the superintendent has talked about us coming back to you with recommendations in December that is going to be a much higher dollar amount for next year. Some of these same things may continue into next year, but we'll review that at that time. This list is primarily for this current fiscal year, as I mentioned. So I'll turn it back to the board for any questions and comments from the public. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? We have a couple of public comments, but maybe we can take questions first from the board and then.
I have a question for, I think, our Assistant Superintendent, HR. So for the resident substitutes, right? We're eliminating actually the position, but if they choose to, they could be within the regular substitute pool.
Absolutely. They'll remain in the regular substitute pool. They're also going to be invited to apply for the priority sub position. And we're also encouraging them to consider, if they're not doing it already, to substitute in the classified positions that we talked about earlier. And we're also sharing with them regular vacant positions that we have at the school sites where we still have a great level of need. So there's lots of employment opportunities if they're interested.
Yeah, we received, I don't know, probably 25, 30 emails. on
31.
this. 30, well, I was close because I was actually just throwing out a number
I
of
just
what
counted.
felt correct. And so I tried to find like some common themes that went throughout most of them, and I'll just throw a few out. Maybe we can at least discuss it publicly so that the public kind of understands our thinking on it. One of the ones that I'll just start with is support for special education programs and how the resident subs are, kind of filling in some of those gaps on that, as well as providing coverage during IEP meetings and 504s. Can we speak to that and kind of like what our assessment is of that?
Yeah, I'm happy to offer some initial remarks, and then any other members of the team that have other perspectives can certainly do that. I think that is one of the many benefits of having resident subs, is it allows for a little bit more flexible of scheduling for our IEP meetings or other student-centered meetings that are happening with families, because it does provide an opportunity for class coverage. So that will certainly be an impact of the reduction. And I wouldn't argue that it won't be an impact. And I think that's one of the real benefits of having resident substitutes. I don't know, because I wasn't here at the time, if that was the sole intention of the creation of the positions as much as it was at the time to help deal with the staffing shortages that every district was seeing around substitutes. But I think, as most educators do, They get very creative with the resources they have. And I think our resident subs have been used in a variety of ways to support what's happening at school sites. And I think we all agree that we would want those things to continue. It may sound more cold than intended when I say it this way, but we have figured out how to manage IEP meetings in that process prior to resident substitutes. And hopefully we can take some of what we learned through this process and become a little bit better at it. But this, as I shared, will be one of the many things that are negative impacts as a net negative of these budget reductions.
Yeah, can I just add a thought to that too? I feel like in the emails that we received that, you know, there was so many great things that the resident subs were doing at the school sites. And I feel like it's indicative of a larger problem which comes to funding. These were things that we want for our students, and budget wise we can't afford. And so there was an opportunity which was well used by administration and teachers to be able to fill in some of those gaps. But I think it speaks to setting aside the fact that, you know, we have what we're talking about in terms of eliminating the resident sub program. It really speaks to the fact that our school sites are just under supported, and that's because of not enough funding for education in our state, in our school district, in our country, all of those things. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think just even like the broader themes that came up of, you know, familiarity with students and all, like, I just want everybody to understand, yes, we did get the emails. We did fully understand all the positives that these were. So we're not blind to that. And to echo what Superintendent Kamick said earlier of none of these cuts are fun. None of these are enjoyable. You know, they're the least of the worst ideas instead of the best ideas. And yeah, I just wanted an opportunity to kind of say that publicly and acknowledge that we do understand that. And we're not just sitting up here on this dais. You know, some of us have kids in these schools. We understand what this is. We understand it's going to impact my students as well. And I wish there was a better way for it, but yeah, anyways.
Can I ask a clarifying question about the second line item, the one about changing the funding source for administrative positions? Do you know roughly how many positions that is? Because the way it says 1.55 FTE to ELOP, I don't want anybody to think that that large number is 1.5 FTE. I know it's a lot more. That's just why I just think it's an opportunity for us to be clear about how many people that 1.5 is.
Yeah, the actual number of people is, I think, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different people. And so the way that funding has to follow is that when you have a restricted funding source like LCAP and ELOP, you can't just charge any old person to that or any old position to it. They have to be doing something for the program. So essentially for ELOP, as an example, any one of our administrators at the district office who is touching that program, who's supporting the program, implementation, coordination, anything like that, we can, for accounting purposes, charge a portion of their day or portion of their week and their salary to that funding source. Okay. So if you think about a 1.0 FTE, which is a term we use a lot, and you're thinking on a weekly basis, a 0.2 would be 1 day a week. A 0.5 would be 2.5 days a week. So you kind of just think about, well, how often am I supporting this thing? And then you can try to back into how much can we charge to that type of resource. So in this case, this is an accumulation of like 4, 5, 6 different people and a portion of their time based upon their job description and how they're supporting ELOP or in some cases LCAP.
Okay. So there's a number of FTE there for ELOP, but we're not quantifying a number on this piece of paper for what's going to come from LCAP.
No, we didn't on this piece of paper.
I just want to be clear that that's more people than 1.5 FTE.
Yes.
Okay.
In reading all the emails, it's really, really hard for me to not give teachers what they feel they need to be supported. Very, very difficult, these decisions. Probably in the 4 years I've been here, this budget issue is going to be the toughest one to have to vote on. And We have to keep our district viable. We have to keep a positive rating on our budget. So we don't really have a choice. It's been the perfect storm of declining enrollment, the state going into a huge deficit, which completely affects us negatively. So as Jesse said, these decisions are not made lightly. And I understand the perspectives that were expressed in those letters. The thing is that sitting here, my perspective is much different because we're looking at making some pretty major cuts in our budget. And these are the kinds of things, unfortunately, that we aren't going to be able to continue, especially in view of the fact that these were put in place, you know, in response in many ways to COVID and to the shortage of substitutes at that time, and wasn't necessarily meant to be ongoing. So as hard as it is, we're all going to have to understand at this point that there's going to be some tough decisions. And as our superintendent so eloquently said, nobody would say that they're good ideas for our students, but it's something that we have to do for the greater good of this district. Thanks.
All right, let's do public comment and then we can, okay. So we have Rick Bogues and then Thomas Spendini, sorry.
Thank you. My name is Rick Boggs. In 2 weeks, I will begin my 16th year as a certificated sub at SRVUSD. It's been a privilege. It's been fun. It's been intellectually challenging. It continues to be. I have served in all of the high schools. I have served in all of the middle schools. And in 5 of those middle schools, I have served in the SPED programs. For the last some 7, 8, 9, I don't know when I started being a resident sub. It was actually the 2nd semester of the 1st year it was instituted. I was primarily hired because I had accepted as a certificated sub a lot of SPED work. I enjoyed working with the kids. I still do. However, it's very difficult and I was totally unprepared for the work. And it took the rest of those years to get where I'm at today. Those 7 years were devoted a lot to SPED because there were no certificated or classified applying for those jobs. There was a limited number of those subs, regular subs, during those years, some of those years, but they were recouped up and down. And in the last 7 or 8 years, those positions weren't really of resident subs, weren't really approved until each year. Each year I had to wait, except for one, until the September before, or the September of that starting year. And I apologize, I'm very nervous. I'm going to go over, but I hope you'll give me some leeway. In those years, I waited until the week before school in many cases to get my resident sub back again. I waited for it. The commitment I made was to be there every day at the school assigned and serve in whatever function they did. I'm glad that's been made mention. We do a lot of different things. One of the things that I am generally used for at my school is for LPAC testing. every year. I do a good portion of that. That may have to come now, it seems like, from the discretionary budget if I'm not going to be able to be assigned that task as a resident sub.
Can you please wrap it up?
Yeah. I just wanted to make one point. I understand that you all are making really rough cuts. It just looks bad. It looks bad because on these items here by numbers, the only people who are losing income during this that are hired employees are the ones that are going off the program as resident subs and taking the reductions. Premiums aside, premiums should be taken away. You don't afford them. You can't afford them. But the problem that isn't addressed in this as well, I was committed for a full year. And each year that I accepted, I got as commitment a full year's term. You're cutting that in half this year with this. Without any notice, I didn't even know about this meeting until Friday of last week. You're asking someone like me to take a full half-year cut of the income, assuming I don't get a priority sub position, which I will be applying for.
Thank you. All right, and next up is Thomas Spandini.
Good evening, board members and superintendent. Thank you for hearing from me this evening. My name is Thomas Spadini, and I am a fifth grade teacher at John Baldwin Elementary, just down the road. First of all, thank you for reading through the emails. I'm sure a lot of them came from my colleagues at John Baldwin. We were very disheartened to hear about the cuts that were going to be happening to the resident sub program. It does sound like, well, I'm just going to say that I'm not the type to go quietly, so to speak. So here I am. I would like to go over some of the reasons why I feel the resident sub position is incredibly vital and important to our district. As previously stated, it is essential to helping us carry out effectively meetings that impact students. That includes SSTs, IEPs, 504s. These are all populations that are growing, that are not diminishing. I'm sure that the board is very well aware of that. Resident subs are important because they have an established rapport with students. As someone who previously substitute taught, I can tell you that it is crucial to have a relationship with the 28 to 30 young people that you are working with. It's essential. Finally, an abundant subpool does not guarantee filled positions. Just recently, I had an absence scheduled and a, excuse me, it's been a long night. Substitute canceled at 7:04 a.m. I live in Pleasant Hill. Driving down 680 after 7 a.m. And getting to John Baldwin on time would have been quite a challenge. I was very lucky that we had a resident sub who was able to step in, which allowed admin to be able to conduct their day as usual. It allowed my colleagues to be able to conduct their day as usual. There was no immediate impact on the site because of the cancellation of the job. And I feel like that would be regrettable if we were to lose that. That being said, appreciate the board's position. I appreciate the supervisor's position. I would not want to swap places with you. So thank you for all you do. But again, I would urge you to reconsider those cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or thoughts or?
Yeah, I again acknowledge, right, all the emails and thank you for the two gentlemen who came up and spoke. That's why it's very, very difficult because we're talking about people, right? Just like with our MTSS liaisons that we had to, that was a very emotional time too. I remember actually working in trying to put a little bit of you know, positive on this. I remember when I was an instructional assistant at Twin Creeks Elementary, and this is way before where there's residential sub program or anything. And I remember we had a sub, frequent sub, Mr. Steve. He was great. Everyone loved him. He connected with the kids, he connected with staff and everything. And I know that every time, right, that some teacher needed sub or something, they would call Mr. Steve first because I was him. So I'm hoping because, right, again, our resident subs will hopefully go into the, you know, substitute pool as well as maybe become some of our priority subs, that even the school sites will be doing that too, right? Reaching out to them first. And so anyway, no, just want to acknowledge that it is very, very difficult and for everyone, what we're having to do here.
Yeah, and thank you both for staying through the meeting to come and share your personal stories with us. It does mean a lot and it doesn't go unnoticed. And I wish that I wish I was a billionaire so I could just donate to the school and it would just all work out fine. But Shelley and I have also been spending the last several months on the budget advisory committee, where there's a group of parents, staff members, community leaders, union representation, and we've all been sitting here trying to figure out how to climb this hill towards 24 million. For a time, we were concerned if Q didn't pass, it was going to be 31 million, it would be even worse. And one thing that became very abundantly clear, there was a lot of energy of like, we're going to figure out the best solution for this. And as it's been coming closer and closer to reality and the cuts get real, the tone has gotten very somber because nobody wants to actually suggest cuts or make them. And it's a really tough thing to do. And, you know, I know we're going to get through this all together, but it is going to stink in the meantime.
Right. And any other thoughts, or can I get a motion or?
Or I'll do. I'll make the motion. I move that we approve consideration of resolution 52/2425, authorizing the 24-25 budget balancing solutions.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Van Zee and seconded by Board Member Hurd. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Hodges.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right, so next we move on to 12.1, first reading of revisions to board policies and administrative regulations. This is an informational item. So that would be Assistant Superintendent Christine Huardo and Melanie Jones.
Yeah, so if there's any questions, our two assistant superintendents certainly, I think, can respond to them just for the public's perspective and as a reminder for the board. Ultimately, what we want to do here, given the number of policies that exist that are listed here, is to bring them forward for information, for review, see if there's any initial questions and or discussion, gives the community an opportunity to provide their input, should it be something they desire to do. And then we would bring these back for potential approval at the next meeting. And so given the number of policies that are coming, we wanted to bring them in 2 reads or 2 cycles. And just for context, what we are doing is trying to keep pace with the regular updates that CSBA provides as recommended updates, which reflect updates in the education code, in the government code, or recommended policy language that CSBA is bringing forward. And we're going to continue to work on bringing the board as many policies as staff can accomplish in order to make sure the policies that govern the district are as up to date as they can be.
I had a question on regulation 5111. That's the one related to admission. So it's on the first page. It's kind of down about halfway. It talks about on a case-by-case basis and with the approval of the child's parent guardian, a child who will turn 5 years old in a given school year may be enrolled in kindergarten anytime during that year. Is that legally required? Because that doesn't sound like it's in the best interest of most kids or most teachers or most classroom environments.
So yes, it
Okay.
is, and we have consulted with our legal team as well to confirm that it is part of education code, and both our executive director of elementary and myself double, triple checked that.
Okay.
Because that is required. And so Director of Elementary, Katie Witt and myself are talking about that process when and if we have to cross that bridge.
And sounds like you are putting in some guardrails to maybe be able to talk somebody out of insisting on that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and it would start at the school site, as we always do, through an SST process and having those conversations at the school first. And as it progressed up, we would obviously talk to the board if there was a situation that rose to this level. But yes, it is
Okay.
part of education code, and we did double check that.
Like, who thought that was a good idea? I mean, can you imagine being this little one and you come in mid-year and you haven't learned anything about reading? And oh my God. Okay. So thank you for clarifying that. I figured it was probably the case, but I needed to ask. That was the only one that stuck out to me.
I have a question about, or I guess it's maybe more of an edit. For BP 5123, which is promotion retention, on the fourth paragraph, it reads, shall identify students who should be retained, comma, or who should be retained at their current grade level. I'm assuming that that's just one of those should be retained needs to be deleted. Do you see where I'm at?
Oh, I
Yes,
noticed that
I
one
do
too.
think it is
Yeah,
a double. We will make that correction. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any other?
Can you just hang on a second to let us look through our little markups?
All right, and this was an informational item, so we don't need action on this. Okay, and we don't have public comment. Oh, no, these are the old ones. It's not even that late. It's been a long couple of months. Okay, so now we're on to administrative matters, 14.0 and 14.1 board member reports. So we'll start with Rachel. You ready?
Yeah. So first I wanted to comment on the state of the district and under 30 recognition event. I know we were all there, but I just thought it was wonderful. And I liked the morning venue, and the simple not having a meal thing probably helped with the cost quite a bit. And Superintendent Kamick, your presentation was outstanding. I mean, the way you have created the foundation for understanding for us and our community to understand our fiscal situation and how we sit relative to other school districts, I think is exemplary. And it's just kind of like was the first step in this very difficult set of conversations over the next few months. Laura and I were at the Community Advisory Committee for Special Education meeting on October 17th. It's so great. We have 3 new students this year. And I mean, these kids really participate and they share their viewpoints of their own experience or experience of their siblings. They're just outstanding. And we also got some new community members to come. So we will probably fill out some empty seats and be able to make quorum every time, which will be good. I think those approvals are coming.
I think they were on
I
our
think they were on
consent.
our consent.
Yeah.
We went ahead, even though we didn't have people to have a quorum, we still put the names forward because they're needed. We had traffic's board of directors yesterday, Laura and I again, and we approved a new 5-year contract with First Student. So that whole kind of unknown about what would happen with the cost structure of running traffics is now settled. And we were able to achieve some significant cost savings by going with a balanced fleet rather than requiring all new buses at the beginning of the new contract, which was kind of stunning that that was like not just a basic, of course, thing, but it was actually something we had to discuss. I got to speak with a Girl Scout troop of first through third graders at Live Oak and talk about civic responsibility with them for one of their badges. That was really fun, especially given the timing of when it was with, you know, the election process and our current elections. I got to deliver third grade dictionaries through my Rotary Club to Bella Vista and Hidden Hills in the last couple of weeks. And last week, I attended the California Reading Coalition's 4th Annual Reading Summit. And the theme was moving the needle on early literacy. And they highlighted the work of what some districts are doing to implement science of reading and structured literacy. And it was really great to kind of, in my mind, contrast what we've done with what was being highlighted and what our team is going to get to talk about in our CSBA workshop in a couple of weeks. And finally, CSBA Region 7, which is our East Bay region, will be in partnership with the 2 county SBA organizations hosting an in-person event on Monday, January 13th. The theme is, or the topic is trustees and superintendents working effectively for the good of students. And it was scheduled for January, so any new school board members in the area can attend. And CJ's going to be one of our superintendents on the panel. So I hope you can all make it. It's going to be at the Castro Valley District Office where that other one we went to was. And there'll be an invitation going out really soon. That's all.
That's excellent. Really, for the past month or since our last board meeting, it's been budget. And whether that's in budget advisory committee meetings, which is every other week, and working with that group, as well as starting to answer some of these questions and figure out the best ways to communicate what it is that we're looking at, whether that's to individual parents or teachers or just, you know, just answering the questions that our community has. It's been a lot of that. And it's, you know, that's actually, it's been a really good thing because there's so much that I think I learned when I came on the board about how school funding works and still learning. And being able to find ways to clearly communicate that has been challenging, but also a good, you know, a good tool to add to the toolbox. And then also meeting with the town of Danville for their liaison meeting. Learning that Chief of Police Alan Shields is retiring in December, and being able to kind of, you know, celebrate his tenure with the town with all the great work that he's done and learn about the replacement and just honor him for all that work he's had a phenomenal track record. I'm really proud of his work he's done here. Sad to see him go though.
Okay, so I got to attend a BOEC meeting and, you know, we're just kind of talking about last project because we're also coming close to the end of that program. But we met at the Cal High library and then had a tour of the press box, which
the new press box.
The new press box. I was impressed. I mean, it looked like a professional press box. I was like, wow, cool. So thanks to our community for the Measure D on money and things towards that. Also attended with CJ and Danny, the City of San Ramon meeting and the school district meeting, learned that the overpass, right, is now, you know, it's not done, but it is scheduled to be done, you know, this summer or something, but they still have to do, but the Iron Horse, yes, the Iron Horse overpass, sorry. And then also learned that San Ramon is being a test, I guess, from the East Bay regional parks, right? Because the Iron Horse Trail, they're going to be testing a double lane type double path, or one for pedestrian, one for bikes and stuff. So that's kind of cool. And then they, we talked about our, they actually also passed a measure, right? The measure end for the sales tax. And so hopefully that, not guarantee, I'm not going to get myself in trouble with the San Ramon, but if they can, they may restore the library hours. So, cross our fingers for that, because that kind of
Yeah,
impacts
they're
our students.
currently closed on Mondays, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Okay, was also got to go to SLAM, one of the SLAM sessions, which was really cool. And to learn about what the kids are also saying and learning and discussing. Shelley and I were at the student panel. It seemed like so long ago with the with the Council of PTAs, and really cool to hear all their thoughts for the adults and their advice for the adults in the room. Ditto on the CJ did a really good job and stayed at the school district. In fact, I've had like a couple different people said that your presentation was like the first time they ever understood the budget. So good job on that. Was able to go to see every year. I love to, if I can, go to see the ofrendas or the Dia de los Muertos, and always very beautiful. So that's what's really cool. I mentioned about the cohort, the solutionary cohort at DVHS. And lastly, last year, first time I learned about Ruby Bridges. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. I really want to learn about a little bit more about that. And I got to this year at Neil Armstrong. So I walked with, the group. And this is the first year that Neil Armstrong Elementary actually had Ruby Bridges, but they got like a huge community, students, parents, and they even got the business community involved because AAA actually donated like these hats, these stickers and stuff with the embroidered Ruby Bridges. So they actually got their whole community supporting them. So thanks, Neil Armstrong, for inviting me.
Well, as Jesse said, it's been budget, budget, budget. I feel like I help run a business, and I'm a CFO in a small business, and this is way more complicated because I don't think people understand our adopted budget's 142 pages. I don't know of anybody else's budgets that's that long, but yeah, it's been really, really good to see the participation of our parents. We have some students in there, we have staff, we have teachers, so that everybody can look at this together. That we all have input, some of us say, oh, no to this, other people say, oh, no to that, or yes, we need to do this. So it's a great process that we have gone through, I think, to be able to make some very, very painful decisions coming up. But I think it's very worthwhile. So they'll be having their last meeting, as Superintendent Kamick said. We will be at the CSBA conference, so we won't be there, at least I won't, for the final, but I know that we're in good hands. So I attended again the Town of Danville liaison meeting with Jesse. We're the liaisons, and as you may have noticed, the town is doing major renovations and everything is torn up downtown. And it just seemed to me like it was all at the same time, but it's gonna have a great result, and they're very excited about it. They're trying to make the town more, I think, inviting and more community feeling, places for people to gather and all of that. And I also I am sorry to see Chief Shields go, because he has been so incredibly supportive of everything district, all of our schools. I know there's going to be a great person they've already chosen somebody to replace him, but we really do want to honor him and his work. And I will be at the meeting. I think it's in December, where they're gonna honor all of his work and years. I was at the student panel and they had some very interesting things to tell adults, and some of which was very profound, and other things is I'd sit back and go, okay, wait till you're a parent. Like you think about your own kids when they tell you these things, but it super, super smart and insightful for sure. Student Senate yesterday, they are working on some great projects this year. There's mental health, there's student voice. They have some great ideas. I think they're kind of racing towards the deadline because they wanted to have their projects done by the time break came, winter break. I don't know if they're going to make that, but it doesn't matter. They're all super involved, and it was a huge group, and I actually had enough cookies. I only had one cookie left. It worked out well. Measure Q passing was a huge relief. And for me personally, I want to thank my community and everybody who came out to support me in my reelection. I can't tell you how much that means to me, and I will work hard to make sure that your vote counts. And I'm committed to the students of this district, and I will continue to work hard to make sure they have the best educational experience that we can give them. So thank you.
So I went to a college fair that was at Doherty Valley High School. It was great to see all the excited students and parents, and there were representatives from a variety of community colleges, the CUs, the UCs, and military, the arms of the military and stuff. It was really a great event. And then I also went to Doherty Valley, had their college info night. I went there with my two seniors, and they talked a lot about, there was actually a pretty big crowd. It was, again, really exciting to see all the students that were at the transfer table, and my own students were excited about that opportunity. You know, I think our district is wonderful and rigorous, and there's this idea that, you know, the best colleges are really the only colleges. And I know I've seen in my own sons kind of a, well, I'm not gonna be able to get into, you know, UC Berkeley or UC Davis, or, you know, so maybe I won't go to college, and learning that the pathway through community college can get them there in a way that's supportive. And it was, I saw that spark in them, and it was really exciting. And I saw that in other students and parents who kind of that relief of, you know, the cost, right? And really learning that regardless of your income, your student can go to Doherty, to Diablo Valley for free. And so just, you know, and then the number of students that can transfer to UC Berkeley and UC Davis, it was really informative and exciting. And I'm grateful for the connection, the partnership that we have with Doherty Valley, with Diablo DVC, sorry, and that they have with the UCs and the CSUs. So, and then I also went to the student panel. It was as usual, very enlightening to listen to the students. I went to Doherty Valley High School's drama department, had a play, I Heard You Were Dead. It was incredibly impressive. These students are pretty amazing, and it was a really great production. I went to the Domestic Violence Awareness Walk a few weeks ago in the city of San Ramon, and you know, again, a great community event where we were really able to shine a light on domestic violence and support and those types of things. And I learned there, which I'm very excited for our community about, that Supervisor Candace Anderson has spearheaded the opening of a family justice center in Danville. She had been pushing for that for a while, and you know, there's this assumption with South County that, you know, we're fine, you know, just like the assumption with our district that we're fine, we have enough money, you know, all of those things, right? There's this sense, and really you know, really kind of pushing for and allowing for an understanding that our community also needs the same supports. So I'm excited for that to open. I know I've had some conversations with CJ, and to make sure that we're really working with our district and making sure that the families in our district are aware of it, because this is going to be a really great resource. And the state of the school district was great. And then I just want to mention that there are budget town halls. There's still 2 more budget town halls. One Wednesday morning at 9:30 and then Thursday evening at 6:30. And the survey is still open until November 22nd, which is Friday. As we've been talking about this whole board meeting, there's a lot of things that we need to look at. And I think I would invite anyone that has the bandwidth and the time to be able to look into how our budget works so that as we look at these cuts, we can work in a collaborative way with our community in terms of how we can find the solutions to make the budgets, the necessary budgets that we have to make, not feel as difficult as they're going to feel. But anyway, so that's my report. So that's that. It's exactly 9 o'clock. We had talked about going back into closed for a few things. So we are going to move to adjourn this and go back into closed. And then we would not need to report out after that. Okay. Okay. So this meeting is adjourned.